I'm just a guy who got a little too loud on the internet. For years, I had this popular, anonymous account where I'd tear into high-level commentators and speak my own less than politically correct ideas. I knew the danger. The fans of the people, they send threats. I've gotten a few of these in my life. The first time, it shook me. But like with everything, you develop some sense of indifference after nothing happens. Most of the time, it's all bark, no bite, until last week. It didn't happen with an online comment or text. It happened with a piece of mail. I found a small padded envelope in my postbox, my real postbox. Inside was just a clear plastic baggie, and in the baggie, a handful of fine brown coffee grounds and the business card from my favorite coffee shop, which I frequently go to. It wasn't a threat of violence. It was a message saying, "We know your routine." So tonight, Halloween, I was jumpy. I was sitting in my living room, toggling between random reruns on TV and watching the neighborhood through the curtains. At around 3 a.m., when the streets were bare, was when it all happened. The phone on the arm of my couch suddenly started a frantic, non-stop vibration, completely overwhelmed with junk messages on Telegram. Then, for a few seconds, was silence. What immediately followed the silence was a single text that snuck through. "Look up, we are here." I looked up from the screen, over to the window on the side of me, which peers over the street in front of me. It was completely empty. A ghost town. After a few seconds of searching across the road, I spotted a group of people out in front of a street lamp, barely moving. My heart started to pound hard, a painful, heavy thud. Then they appeared to get closer. The three men, emerging from the darkness, didn't have costumes. They wore simple, heavy, dark clothing. They hid their faces with surgical masks, the blue type we see everywhere nowadays, and moved quickly but calmly toward my house. As they came closer, the lights of my house casted onto them, and I could see clearly now that one of the guys, flanking the man in the front, was carrying something heavy. It looked like an axe. They were not subtle. I closed my lights quickly, then ran down to my basement and into a small room that had a sturdy door and lock, and shut it behind me. I opened my phone to look at the cameras around my house. The guy in the front stopped on my sidewalk. He was standing right in the spotlight of my porch lamp, just swaying his axe back and forth, looking around. The second they stepped on my sidewalk, I called 911, frantically explaining to them what was going on. I put them over the speaker of my phone so I could monitor my cameras at the same time. I saw him wield the axe back and throw it towards my house. I didn't see where it landed, but I heard a faint thump from upstairs. At that point, everything started accelerating. They started working quickly. The man in the front reached into a school bag I didn't see until he pulled it off. From the bag, he pulled out a glass bottle, fat and dark, stuffed with a rag. The man on the right pulled out a lighter and touched the flame to the rag, catching fire. He hurled the bottle. I screamed into the phone's speaker, "They are trying to burn my place down. They just threw a Molotov at my door." It hit the front door, going through the glass with a sickening sound, immediately bursting into a blinding fireball. A few seconds in, the porch camera went black, probably from the heat. The dispatcher raised his voice, probably to help snap me back into reality. "Sir, you have to get out. Where is your nearest exit?" "The whole front is on fire," I yelled back. "I'm in the basement. I'm going out the garage." I tried to put the phone in my pocket, but accidentally dropped it on the ground. I left it there. There was a wave of heat that hit me. I couldn't tell if it was the stress or the fire going on out front. I ran out my safety room towards the side door that's located in the garage, a few feet from where I was sheltering. I opened the door and bolted to the fence of my backyard. I reached the fence, climbed it quickly, and hopped it into the neighbor's yard, landing hard in the cold dirt. I kept running through 2 more backyards until I reached the main avenue, several blocks away from the fire. I stumbled out onto the curb just as the first sirens, the police, and the fire department screamed past. I met the police 2 blocks down. The investigation was immediate, exhausting, and ultimately cold. The attackers were long gone. The forensic team confirmed the organized nature of the attack, but the fire had destroyed most of the crucial evidence. The men had been professionals, leaving no prints, no viable witnesses. They won. The front of my house was destroyed. Turns out that according to the police, there were at least 2 incendiary devices that were thrown into my house. Now, 6 months later, I live in a new city, a small, anonymous apartment 20 hours away by car. I deleted my digital footprint and work a remote, low-paying job. I never buy coffee anymore. I don't go near cafes or bakeries. I still call the officers occasionally to see if any leads pulled up, but it's always the same, scripted response.